biceps, a little BS. Fitness mixed with finance, now you're really gonna see us as we're learning, growing. All your minds we're blowing, earning while we're burning. Shirts are tight, so gains are showing. Resolve, evolve, absolve, it's time to make a move. Better check yourself, cause if you're doubting, no, we got the proof. Voices speaking loud, cause we're proud about what we can do. Tickling your ears with CPE, rooted in the truth.
So welcome to Business Biceps BS. I mean, this is how we start. It's very much fly on the wall. People come in and go, wait, what did I miss? And then they go back a few seconds like I didn't miss anything. This is like, what are they doing? Like, they don't want to trap on me. So Jaideep, I got to spell it out. Jaideep, right?
Right.
And last name. Say your last name for me so I don't get it wrong.
Sing.
Oh, so the H is silent.
Yes, except I don't sing.
I don't know. I think after a few beers, you're probably a pretty darn good crooner.
And who hasn't sung in the shower?
I don't know. There's great acoustics in every shower that I've been in.
Right.
So it's, no, welcome to Business Biceps BS. I know that I want to go over how we met, because this is one of those things where it's just a serendipitous relationship. It's something that that just happens out of just pure joy of being a CPA, being inside the accounting world. And when you keep seeing the same faces pop up over and over in all these different places, like, we should probably be friends. So the story goes back to the Florida, what is it? The Florida, oh gosh, what was it? South Florida Accounting Conference, right? Down in Miami?
Miami, right.
And we were there. I was there with Drew Carrick, who is the rapping CPA, who's been on this show and has done a great job. But we come launching out for the first keynote and with this rap. And we're like, yeah, we don't know if this thing's gonna soar, if it's gonna just fall flat on its face. And we have this music going. He's doing his rap, and I come out of the back. I'm doing my rap, and we're rapping, and nobody. I understand it is 8 o'clock in Miami, so everybody was probably clubbing the night before.
Right.
You know, they went to bed at like 4 a.m. So they're still reeking of all that booze. But people around the room, it was really shocking that nobody was like enjoying. Like, there was, I wouldn't say scowls. I would say more along the lines of, what in the world is going on here? Or like, what is Shelley brought into our confines? And should this ever happen again? And then come to find out later on, there was this back row of all the bad CPAs, right? The ones that had the reputation, and you were one of them. That later on you came up and said, "Hey, my head was bobbing." You know, it was pretty good. I appreciate the effort, right? Because I thought we just totally that plane just boom right into the ground. But no, it was a lot of fun, because I did learn that day that there are other CPAs out there that not only have senses of humor, but also have failed miserably in front of a lot of people.
Right.
And so that kind of became the genesis of our relationship. But then we see each other. Was it Maryland?
Maryland, yeah.
Maryland, the Maryland Association of CPAs, and of course we're both speaking in sessions and this, that, and the other. You knew more on the tax and AI side. Me, just whatever comes to my mind. But it's funny because we see each other and we're like, "Hey, I know you. Why do I know you? Oh, were you there? Yes, it was me." And so it was back and forth. It was super fast, and then we just laughter. And I was like, "Okay, this is a guy that I need to sidle up next to, because he makes me laugh, but I think he sees me for who I am, which is not really a CPA. Somehow I got the credential, but I'm sure the CPA world's like, get this guy out of our box, right?" But no, super excited to have you. I know that this conversation is probably going to be one of a lot of laughter and goofiness. But Jaideep, tell me who you are. What's your background? How are you so graced to be on the Business Biceps and BS podcast? So,
well, going. I think it may be because I have no biceps, but to take you back to that day in Florida, I mean, if you expected a bunch of CPAs to be exuberant at 8 a.m., I think you were the one who went clubbing the night before.
I didn't go to sleep, brother.
And secondly, I don't think I've ever seen a bunch of CPAs go clubbing. So. But yeah, I think Couple of things. Yes, we did meet in Florida. I was presenting what AI can do in tax prep, and that tax is an important part of the CPA, any CPA session, because large percentage of people are in tax prep. So yeah, I think that's the quick background. If you want, I can dive in a little bit more, but
Oh, we're
depends where
definitely
you
gonna
want
dive
to take
in.
it.
Yeah. This is one of those things where I throw you a fish and then you multiply the fish and then give it to the people.
Right. Okay.
I told you what doesn't work on the show is me asking a question and you just answering it.
Right. Right. Okay.
So it's called FlyFin.
It's called FlyFin AI.
Yes.
Started the company 6 years ago. Had no idea of accounting or tax. The only thing I knew was I hate taxes.
Me too. We have that in common.
So it was I took a MBA approach towards starting my next company. This was my third company that I was.
Serial entrepreneur you are.
Yeah, ever since college, that's really what I wanted to do. Almost dropped. I studied computer science from undergrad straight into grad school, sort of PhD master's program. But right in my freshman year, I think the third week of school, this was my fourth job in my third week of school, when I became a waiter, and I saw the dude who ran that restaurant, making 100 grand a month, and he asked me, "When you graduate, how much are you gonna make?" And as back then, I was like, maybe if I'm lucky, 35K, maybe 40K. And then he kind of looked at me and said, "You guys seem smart. You study a lot, but you really don't."
Wow. That's probably great advice, though. I mean, did that motivate you?
Oh, totally. I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, why am I studying computer science? This dude's making a lot more money. That's the end game, right? But then what happened was that summer, he was a serial entrepreneur. This is his fourth restaurant he'd opened in 12 months, right? So he's like, "Jaideep, you have the summer off. Can you run this place? Can you just manage it? Because you look like the most competent guy at 18."
So you got hair then.
Which tells you the competence of the other crew. So I was like, sure.
Well, expectation bar was very low, so you trip over it, right?
Exactly. So I was like, sure, I'll make more money. And I was, running the till. It was a lot of cash back then, maybe 30% credit card, 70% cash, and I had to count it and put it in envelopes and everything, and then to go deposit in the bank. So I learned a little bit of those things. And then in managing that place, I realized I have a lot of respect for restaurant owners because it's not like a white collar job where someone, you schedule a 9 a.m. Zoom meeting or 7 a.m. in California, and people show up. So I'd have waiters who wouldn't come, bus boys who were drunk and woke up 72 hours later. And you had to hustle. So I realized that I was doing a lot of work. If I normally came in at 10 a.m. for prep for a restaurant that opened at 11, I had to come at 7 to make sure and learn a lot of things. And through that summer, I realized the restaurant business is not for me. This is not what I want to do. Even if it's a lot of money, it's actually not just about money. You have to do something that you're going to be really into and enjoy and not say WTF every day. So yeah, that was back then. You asked about a third company. What I realized was in the tech space, at least at that time, this was pre-Y Combinator, I realized that I really wanted to have a lot of skill set, and that I wanted to. So I was an engineer for about 6-7 years, running an engine, starting as a junior engineer all the way to managing an engineering team, and then I went and got my MBA post that because I knew I was going to be a business guy all my life, but I didn't know the difference between a credit and a debit, and people spoke a language that I didn't understand, and anytime people spoke a language I didn't understand, my brain would stop or freeze. I'd be like, okay. And then I'd stop comprehending people. And I was like, I can't be in an environment where my brain stops, right? Just because I'm stuck on some tiny thing.
Okay.
So that was back then. I did go get my MBA and I joined venture capital after that because I don't know, VC industry working away where they hired from 2 or 3 B schools. And, but I loved it. It just opened my mind completely from being a really narrow engineer to looking at 5 investments a day across completely different sectors. And talk about someone who needed to understand something to move forward. I dumped that idea completely. I just started going with the flow. I was like, yeah, wow. Chips. I know everything about chips. So yes, the FlyFin came about. It was I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I'd built and successfully sold my first company, which, right out of the gate, it was a search engine doing machine learning and AI in 2005. And that was a great outcome. The second company was a really, really tough business where the business model just didn't work. We built a great product no one wanted to pay and shut that down. So my third company, I realized I just wanted to take the time and figure out not only a hard problem, a large problem, but something I will actually enjoy working on. And it started with not much passion, actually, complete distaste for taxes. But I realized that I actually, as I inspected the problem, I really liked the problem. It was a numbers problem. It was a hard problem, not an easy problem to get AI models to do AI tax prep well. And, when you start sleeping and thinking about that same problem when you wake up in the morning, then that's the one. So that's how that got started. It's a long, kind of winded story, but tells you a little bit about me and FlyFin AI.
Yeah. So from my background, I started a data company and many years ago, and inside the data company we were doing defense and healthcare work with basically image analysis. We had some pretty cool algorithms, and we never actually patented that particular system because it was one of those things where it's like, how much can you patent before someone could just steal it? And so we decided, let's just go with that kind of a trade secret thing and just keep it to where we wanted it. But what I noticed there is that on the defense and the healthcare industry, it's such a laborious industry because it's so regimented. There's a ton of regulation. You come with the whims and fancies of anybody who has a budget. Right, and so when the budget's big and flush, you're doing great. When it's not, it's like, man, it's just tough. And it all depends on the political sides and all those things. And so I learned a valuable lesson. I should have learned a lesson earlier because my dad had been in the defense industry for 42 years. He retired just a handful of years ago, working for the same company for 42 years. And but I saw that when depending on who was in office, whether it was blue or red, either the budget was flush or the budget was not, and it was like there was expansion, there was contraction, sequestration, all these different things, right? But didn't learn my lesson, so I decided, I'm going to build a data company. I'm going to go into the defense industry. So nothing I like better than working for Uncle Sam. But what I learned there is a lot of the nuances of what it takes to actually start a business. I would say that even though, I didn't have like some great exit to where, people are looking at me at the bar like, oh, that's that guy. It's nothing like that. But while there, I was able to do a little bit of a pivot and instead of the defense and healthcare industry, we actually had a patented modeler that we started inside the sports entertainment industry, and it was specific to scouting analytics, very Moneyball-ish, right? If you've seen the movie, what we did is we created this. This human-assisted predictive modeler is called HAPM, and I was like, the guy that invented it had the actual patent. I told him, I was like, dude, we got to change the name of this thing.
Correct.
This is the dumbest name. People are gonna be like, what is that about? So we ended up changing it to Consense, and the reason why is because it taught consensus, right? And it made everything more Zen-like when you're starting to try to figure out, hey, I have a pool of quarterbacks, a pool of running backs, a pool of wide receivers, what have you. And they all have these characteristics, both quantitative and qualitative characteristics. Is there a way that we can merge that into a way that a scout could go ahead and look at each individual metric, tell them what the importance level of is that metric? Like for running backs, you want to make sure that, speed and agility, obviously, something that are real big. Probably not Wonderlic score because they're not there to take tests. They're there to run a ball through a wall, right? And maybe Jimmy. So you give greater importance to certain attributes, and some attributes not so much greater importance. Well, what we come to find is that that we were going to my team at the time. We were trying to go to the NFL combines and discuss this modeler with people, and people thought, hey, this is really cool. Like we would put their information in. Of course, at the combine, you already have all the scouting information of all these young men who are looking to go into the league, and so we had all of their speeds, all of their attributes. What we didn't have was the qualitative attributes, and I was more of like the are they good in a locker room? Are they going to blow up the locker room? Do they do they have an entourage? Do they not have an entourage? Like all these different things that make a player, like round out a player experience. And again, and also from the standpoint of that individual has to be amongst other individuals who are very like-minded, who are very athletic, and have been told their entire lives that they're extremely good at this trade that they have. So it's like, can they actually be in a locker room together, right? So we have this great thing, patent, so everything. It's great. What we found is that we were solving a problem that nobody wanted solved. And so, and it took us 3 years to figure this out. And it was one of those things where it's like everybody loved the modeler because it really did sift through the information faster to where, if this guy got pulled off the board, you had 3 people that were exactly like that guy who were just 2, 3, 4 right in place. What we didn't realize is that during that scouting process, that draft process, that part of the process that the people in the process actually really enjoyed was the back and forth across the table. You don't know what you're talking about. You're an idiot. It's like throwing coffee mugs, whatever it is. And that was the part that made that such like it was like a moment, right? And so us taking all of that out of the way and just saying, hey, here's all your data. This is how you do it. And you can do it. You don't even have to be in the same room. You can be over there, and you can collect all this information. They were looking at us like, well, what do you mean? What do you mean I don't have to be in the same room? It's like we were almost like we reinvented the way you would select candidates for a team, and it didn't gain any traction because
Interesting.
Nobody wanted the problem solved. Even though everybody said it was a problem, nobody wanted the problem. They still want the magnets on the wall so they could take that, move it down here, move this guy over here, because that's just how they were doing it for years. So
that's straight out of Moneyball.
Valuable lesson. Well, there was that one scene where it's when they first bring Jonah Hill's character into the room, and you have the older guys that are on their side of the table, and Billy Bean is sitting there, and these guys are like, yeah, okay, this guy knows the numbers, this is what we're gonna do, and these other guys are like, we don't need that. Like, what about all the years of experience that we have in talking about this and arguing about this, and it's like, we don't need that, and he's sitting there like, no. That guy's the future of baseball, right? So he even ran into that issue, but he was also the boss, so he could do what he wanted. But it was a valuable lesson in that I have heard that especially specifically inside software, that you can solve a problem, but the question is that does the market even want it solved? Like there's the problems that that are out there, and you can say, oh, I'm going to build something to solve that problem. And then there's problems that you can recognize. Like you build a solution to solve a problem, and you're just like, well, nobody really cares that much about that problem. So in your experience with FlyFin, what did you see that first got you into the wild west of taxes, right? Mm-hmm. What did you see that first pricked your mind to say, I can solve this problem? And then kind of draw out from there. I really love the founder story. So tell our listeners about what decisions were made in order to, like, what early traction did you see, or maybe some early failure that you saw? How did you regroup and kind of push this thing forward?
Yeah, I think the core problem that I latched onto was, there's multiple problems, but the main one was that I had a CPA, and every year I filed an extension, right? And I paid extra money to the IRS through penalties and not filing on time, even though we filed, the extension request. And I couldn't figure out what about this problem was so hard that I couldn't do it on time, because all the data is sitting there, right? And why is it that Jaideep Singh, who's on top of everything, can never be on top of this problem, right? And it bugged me, and it was in one of those compartments in my brain that I didn't want to deal with, right? And I realized, like, through meeting my friends, a lot of them were in the same boat, right? A lot of them filed for extensions, and like the first deadline didn't mean anything. It was just a kind of a check mark, and the final deadline was where everyone was scramming. Right now, that's not the whole tax industry at all. You know, it was something. The numbers say 30% of people will file for an extension. Those who go to CPAs, 30 to 40%, depending on different areas. But that's not an insignificant number. But when I started inspecting that problem on that spreadsheet of mine, trying to figure out what is the nature of the problem, I realized one of the biggest thing was just putting together that set of data that I needed to give my CPA. Different people do it differently. Some people write out an email and, a long story. Some people walk into the CPA's office. In my case, because I was a numbers guy, I produced my own spreadsheet, my own format, call it a P&L. I didn't, with notes in there. So it was like a weird P&L. There's a letter and a P&L. And putting that together required me to, go through my box of things I had saved, receipts, call it the shoebox, go to my Amex, download expenses, go to my B of A to see if I got, what were the payments that came in? Did I have the right 1099s? Put that whole thing together. And it probably took me a day or two, so it's not a whole lot of work, but also not zero, right? It wasn't effortless. So I realized that the tax industry is well served, or for the consumer tax industry is well served through TurboTax and 10 other competitors. Whereas the market where people who go to CPAs, the reason there's so much, and call this inertia, why is there so much inertia to get to the CPAs? Because that problem from a psychological perspective is a hard problem, and one of those problems that people, even numbers guys like me, don't want to deal with. So that was a problem that I gravitated toward. I realized that collecting all this data from different sources, making sure, like, call it the transaction level, so grabbing transactions from all your financial institutions, right? And then figuring out that Amazon and AMZN and AZN are all the same thing. It may seem easy when we speak about it, but
Right.
from a machine's perspective, that's a machine learning problem. That's an AI problem. And to get that very high accurately, like high accuracy.
And you're talking about, like, specifically that one of Amazon. You're talking about like certain banks have transactions, and like maybe there's notes in there of what that purchase is from, and sometimes they're missing a letter or two.
Yeah, exactly. So if you just download a transaction record in a spreadsheet from even just from Amex, you'll see the same merchant described differently depending on the point of sale machine that they have, right? Okay. So it's because human beings refer to the same things in different ways. Some people abbreviate differently. So there's a natural language problem here that a machine was terrible at figuring out until LLMs came out a couple of years ago, right? Which is a large language model, is about a machine understanding human language, right? The biggest gap was that. And that's the gap I was trying to bridge through AI. So I realized that's a really interesting problem. That's very much like the first problem I solved with the people search engine, where we were trying to figure out that Jaideep Singh from Penn or UPenn or Wharton or whatever, they're all the same thing, right? Which is not easy for a machine to do. So I realized that that's a really interesting problem. It's a large market. If there's 30, 40 million Americans, that can benefit from that, turned out to be a higher number than that, then that's a pretty large market. So we started there on the consumer side. And then the other thing was, everyone's like, why are CPAs so expensive? Why do I need to spend $1,000 for a tax return? I got a simple, all I've got is a mortgage and, like 2 other things. So that's a harder problem to solve. But that to me was an interesting enough problem. So we started off the company right at the onset of the pandemic in 2020, which is around the time my co-founder decided to move to India as well. He was at LinkedIn. And So, he moves over to Bangalore. But it was COVID. So we started off. Immediately, we had to go virtual. I'd never used Google Meet until then.
Oh, wow.
And Zoom I'd never heard of, But, like all of us, within 24 hours, learned to use all the tools of the new environment. So anyway, that company started off, and we built a really good. My entire focus in life has been to build the strongest team,
Okay.
because that's what I learned in my first company. I put together about 12 PhDs from Stanford and Berkeley to solve that machine learning problem, and that allowed us to become the number one product in the space. And as we became the number one product, we got the most traction. So I kind of did the same thing. I put together a really strong team. And because Sachin had moved to India, Sachin, by the way, India is a massive country, but he went to college there and he graduated number 2 in the whole country in the computer
goodness.
science. So, which is extremely competitive and is really bright.
Wow.
I mean, low key guy, super, just a great listener and great thinker. And I realized that A, he's younger than me, B, he's from a top school. Let's grab, and that's kind of like Stanford, let's grab a bunch of his classmates. So when I first spoke to him, I was like, dude, the way we're going to build this company is hiring your classmates. And in the morning when I woke up, he had a spreadsheet of 23 people who he'd already reached out to. And he's like, here are the 17 I reached, 3 who have responded and 4 more that I still need to reach out to. So I was like, this guy's a hustler. He's an entrepreneurial guy. So anyway, so we did all that. We built a great product, and we started getting traction. But the thing I learned, it took us about over 3 years to learn this, because we wouldn't give up, is even though with a great product, I mean, we were doing a tax return, a CPA like tax return for about $300 on average, right?
Okay.
It could cost you $1,200-$1,300. A lot of it because the effort was saved through automation, and some of it by placing, CPA resources offshore and stuff like that. So there was enough of a business model for our company to be able to get profitable. But what we realize is, even though, because you see on the TurboTax side, it's well served, that market. I'm talking about this market where people go to CPAs and they have this problem, right?
These are the people that are told to take receipts and dump them in a box, and then they just bring the box to the CPAs, and the CPA all of a sudden is like, right? Okay.
Yeah. And what I realized is that we solved a great problem, but the customer acquisition of this is super expensive. Basically, you're handing money to Google or Facebook, and that's it, to get new customers, right? And Google and Facebook or Meta have an auction system that always, the highest bidder is the one who can advertise.
Yeah.
So they capture all the margin, and we realized that there's really no margin in the company for us to do this. So this is not a sustainable path. If we raise venture capital and stuff, but if you raise $100 million, $1 billion, you could burn it all and acquire a bunch of customers, but it's not that profitable. And I'd done that in my first company. As a VC, I've been part of companies that burned through a lot of cash, and I was like, I ain't building any business like that, because I'm not trying to become $1 trillion company. I'm enjoying this problem. It's a large enough problem. It's a global problem. We'll get there slowly but surely. So that's where we started, and so about a year and a half ago, I made the hard switch, because we did a few experiments where we said, okay, a lot of the technology we built also applies to a CPA, because we had an in-house CPA team that was dealing through these tax returns very efficiently, and we got their productivity up, almost 3x by then, and we changed the workflows and stuff internally. The technology was starting to work really great. Our models were, pretty well trained. And at that point, when we started reaching out to CPAs, I realized that they didn't have a solution in the wider market. And it was the economics, because our way of reaching was not Google and Facebook. There's many other ways to reach them, that those methods of reaching were economically viable, right?
Okay.
So that's where, even though we still have this consumer product and, people love it, our retention rates are over 90%, in terms of consumers that come back and keep using the service. We're not putting any much effort in terms of, growing that market. And the company's entire focus is really serving CPA firms and individual CPAs nationwide, solving the problem of their tax prep because they have a really cumbersome, painful way also.
Okay.
So that was, to your question, what was some of the key learnings, the journey of this company. That was essentially it, and that's now we're fully focused on this.
So it's been 6 years, right? And
Yeah.
this is fully fleshed out. You have subscribers, right? So your business model is what?
Our business model is selling software on a subscription basis annually because taxes annual is a repetitive problem.
Sure. So instead of for a person that would use like TurboTax, right? You pay in 150, 200, depending on which one you're downloading. And TurboTax, you're going to put all this information in there. You're probably going to have to hand jam some stuff in. Some of the stuff you can download. Obviously, one of the nice things about TurboTax is that in the prior year, if you have you verify a couple pieces of information, it pulls everything into this year, so you don't have to repeat. It's like, remember when you used to have to get when you got a new phone, you'd have to go and actually put in all the contacts again, and it was like, oh my gosh. Then the iPhone came out, you're like, wait, I don't have to do that anymore. That's amazing. So obviously there's some nice things about that. I'm assuming that let me go back. The same thing with TurboTax though is that you buy it every single year, right? It's the same product. They update some of the rules for all the different tax changes, what have you. But you're constantly having to download the new one so that you can then have the new rules and then do your taxes. But it's still a pretty manual process. It's not certainly you can attach it to a bank account. It can download some things, but it's not like it puts things where it needs to be. Like, for example, I have to go through 4 different bank accounts, my wife's business, my business, different and personal stuff, and like walk through these things like, oh, that's personal, that's business, that's this, that's this. And so finally get down to, okay, this is what she made in her business, what I made in my business, and this is what we did personal and other things. And so now I've got 4 different things that I now have to reconcile to say, okay, now where do I put it, right? So how does FlyFin, does it shortcut that system? How does it help me gather that information and then just inject it into this thing?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So there's 2 areas of automation. One is for the consumer, right? This the call it building my tax books, right?
Okay.
Not a complete accounting book, right?
Okay.
And the second is uploading documents and pulling information out of that as well, right? And then of course there's the part of the CPAs problem, which is what we're 100% focused on now. But to answer that question, the way it works is in the application, we ask you which of your accounts are business only, because some people are really good about that, right? It's a business only, and which of them are mixed, right? Now, what ends up happening is that even in the business only for people, they make a lot of mistakes because what happens is I want my points on Amex, right? Okay, screw it. I'm going to Macy's and I'll grab stuff from there. So you suddenly have this shopping expense. Like, oh yeah, my wife I think went to Nordstrom's or whatever.
And CPAs are just like, no, what are you doing?
Right.
What are you doing? Right.
So what the system does is figure out your profession, look at other transaction data, maybe from a prior year return or something like that, and learn first, right? And then it gives you it automatically classifies a high probability set of transactions that look like business transactions for your profession and things like that. You can always go and you have to review everything. There is a manual component. The second thing it does is it collects transactions in groups. And it's a mobile app, and it offers it to you in Tinder-like cards.
Oh, cool.
Right? So you can look at it and say, okay, Macy's or Starbucks, I have 32 Starbucks expenses.
Oh
I
my
can't
gosh.
deduct any of this, so you just swipe left and reject the whole group, right?
That would be a nightmare to see, to just have everything accumulated right in front of you to see is how much money you actually spent.
Exactly.
Oh my goodness.
So if you have, like, say, the average number of transactions on the consumer side, something like 1,800, 2,000 transactions. That's a lot of transactions to go
Wow.
through, right? And that's the average. There are people who spend a lot more, right?
Wow.
Because our lives got digitized. Everything's on there, right? From Apple Pay to everything else. And we spend money at least 5, 6 times a day. So so dealing with this is like now a 5, 7 minute exercise, maybe 10, maybe 15, depending on how diligent you want to be, as opposed, and with almost no inertia because you set it up once and we connect it, and it's like reading your transactions every week, right?
That's really cool. So
Yeah.
what about, so let's go back to the Starbucks thing. What if in those 32 transactions, there were a couple business examples in there?
So you can go and select them if you think,
Okay.
hey, I want to pick a few, and that's why that there is a manual process, because only
I
you
see.
know that Starbucks did you take a client out, or were you just grabbing coffee? There's no
Got
way
it.
for any machine or any system to know that,
Sure,
right?
sure. Yeah.
And it's and some people want to lie, some people want to speak the truth. That is the reality of taxes, but it's their problem, right? And they
No
have
one ever
to
lies in their taxes.
right? No, never. No, not even Donald J. But so that's how that gets solved. But that's the reason why we didn't, even though AI could do a lot of it, we put a CPA at the end of this.
Okay.
Because, you know, people get aggressive, they make mistakes, and you need an adult telling you. That's really what the CPA is doing. It's like, dude, you can't take 80,000 miles, and expense 5 years of your vehicle in one.
Come on, man. Do you want to get audited?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or at least then maybe go get someone else to do your tax return. I'm not doing it.
No, that's fair. That's fair. That's fair.
And we had to say no to a lot of people, and that's totally fine. So all that then goes to a CPA, right?
Okay.
And then when your documents come, your 1099s, W-2s, whatever, you just upload them and let the CPA deal with that.
Okay, so question for you then. So when you say it goes to a CPA, is that something like, so I have a subscription and I put in my stuff throughout the year. It's pulling information. Maybe on a monthly basis, I have it to where I'm going to look at it on a monthly basis, say yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, whatever, swipe right, swipe left. And so when you say it goes to a CPA, is that a CPA of my choosing? Is it a CPA of your choosing? How does that work?
It's a CPA of the company's choosing, because we were trying to achieve a price point, a lower price point. So, if it's a simple return, it's actually $192, right?
Okay.
Those who have a S corp, an entity, or something like that, or multiple Schedule Cs, they pay about $300. It's a really low price point.
$300. That's fantastic.
Yeah. And so it's really a CP of our choosing. I mean, we built, and the way we did it was build an offshore team that otherwise there's no way to reach that price point.
So when it goes to, and what you're doing is you're getting volume pricing, right? So you're
Yeah.
sending them a whole bunch of these things, and they're nailing down all the more simplified stuff, but then the complex ones, they take a little bit of extra time to make sure that you're getting those correct, right? When you said offshoring, how can you offshore a CPA?
You'd be surprised. There's licensed CPAs, U.S. licensed CPAs, in
Just
other
expats
countries.
just living everywhere?
In the Philippines, in India,
Really?
in Latin America. There's also EAs, like enrolled agents for the IRS, who are certified tax preparers.
You know what? That's interesting, because obviously, being in the accounting industry, my thought is that you have to have a CPA to sign off on these things. But I guess as long as you are meet
Licensed.
the criteria, you don't necessarily. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Interesting. So you could be a licensed tax preparer. You don't have to necessarily be a CPA.
Both. There's both. So there's
Okay.
So there's CPAs, licensed CPAs in certain states
Sure.
who are offshore, and a licensed tax preparer, which is a IRS enrolled agent with a
That's
PTIN number.
Okay. Yeah. This is how much
And
you don't
this
know about
happened
taxes.
because all the large firms, KPMG, PwC, H&R Block, they all put large teams abroad to manage their own expenses as well. So there's actually a fair amount of talent available.
So when you're going to your local Big Four to get your taxes done, most likely it's being done overseas somewhere.
Yeah, most likely the guy talking to you looks like you, and the dude doing the return looks like me.
The H is always silent. No, that's fascinating. Okay, so then with your and then we keep talking about being on your phone. So it's as simple as it's an app that you download from the App Store.
Yeah, correct.
And when I download the app, is the price of the app yeah, how does that happen? Is it like a $1.99, or do you pay?
No, it's a free app. It's a free app.
Free app, okay.
So you can use it. It's only when you connect your accounts and the system has to start working, then you pick which subscription do you want.
Okay, and but is it worked out to where throughout the year, if I just set a day aside just to say, hey, I don't want this monkey to get on my back, so I'm just going to do once a month. I'm just going to kind of reconcile my books, and I could do the last month, and then just kind of month to where I'm not waiting till December to do all of it, or January even. Is that fair? Is that too?
Exactly, and it's doing it in the background anyway.
Oh, because you're setting all these rules.
Yeah, so it's grabbing your transactions every day, right, from the institute. You're not just downloading it one time, you're connecting your accounts in read-only mode, right?
Oh, okay. Okay, so this is fascinating. So it's actually populating by itself in the background.
Yeah.
And then I guess in this case, once a month, I would look at those cards that you're saying and I would say, okay, hey, I know I had two big business meetings at a Starbucks. I'm going to click in there and mark those two just so that this month is done. Everything else is probably right, and then we just move on to the next month. Right? Kind of like that?
Exactly.
Okay.
So it's the way it is. So there's two sets. The sum that you need to approve, the sum that AI is it knows with high probability.
It just knows.
It's classifying everything every day anyway. And what we see, the behavior we saw in that was some people are just on top of things and they like going every week and just, there's only a few transactions, they deal with it, it's fresh in your mind.
Sure.
Most people will do it the day they're doing the tax returns, right?
No, this is fascinating. So, and you don't have to be a CPA to do this, right? This is like anybody with, I'll say, non-accounting oriented.
Yeah.
This is just a very easy way to kind of really manage your finances.
Correct.
Throughout the year, if you really wanted it to be that way, or periodically just make sure that you're keeping up with what's going on. Now this is fascinating. I can see how you've solved a problem not just from the CPA side, but you've also solved the problem from just the general taxpayer problem.
Correct.
And then because your price points are so similar to the competitors out there, it sounds like you have a viable option. For someone who maybe just isn't comfortable inside the Intuit packages and what have you.
Yeah.
This is really cool. So then, what is your biggest business problem that you're running into now?
So let me back up again. This consumer app, we're not focused on that anymore. In fact, we're taking that technology.
Okay.
So there's this other piece, which is once you get the data, the tax preparer has to start preparing a tax return.
Okay.
Right? So the client sent a whole bunch of PDFs. They took pictures of their W-2s, sideways and right ways and wrong ways. And
put the back.
Yeah, and the CP is kind of doing this. And that tax preparation problem was also something that we were solving, even with the consumer app. But when we realized that the economics of this business isn't great, we've shifted over completely to just solving the tax firm's problem, right?
Okay.
So the greatest business problem that we're solving right now is automating the generation of that tax return completely automatically. So your client sends you documents over email, sends you a bunch of emails saying, by the way, Tim, I went to Hawaii, and I also, I had to buy my client some booze. You really had to. It was necessary.
You had to do that deep sea fishing expedition.
Yeah.
It was
both necessary and normal.
It was a team building exercise.
And so taking all that and automatically producing a draft 1040, so that, and it's not like you can take that 1040 and file it, right?
Okay.
But it's a draft 1040 for a CPA, so the CPA doesn't have to do any nitty gritty, pulling data together, entering data entry, all that's done for the CPA. So they can look and say, all right, let's see what Tim has here. He's got a draft Schedule C. What, he only made $14,000 this year? It's missing some information, right? So then look at it, say, okay, he's missing a couple of 1099s, or there's a W-2 that hasn't come in yet, right?
Okay.
So click a button, remind the client, look at your organizer again, you haven't sent me these 7 documents, right?
And this is done all inside the software, so never one's ever exiting. So he clicks a button, I'm on the other side, I get a notification on my phone that says, hey, you need to go, you should probably go locate these items. Okay,
right.
Interesting.
Exactly.
Right.
So, and so that is the problem. That's again a large problem. We have a lot of components. We're the market leader now in terms of product and technology.
This is great.
Right?
Yeah, this is great.
And so we started in one place, ended up in another place, right? And this is it's a similar problem, but and that consumer deduction tracker is what we call it.
Okay.
We're going to start offering that to CPA firms so they can give it to their clients.
Oh, this is so awesome.
White label it and say, hey, this is, Tim Natty, CPA. It doesn't say FlyFin. It's like, just do this. Or if you want me to do it, then it's another $500 more. Okay. You figure it out.
So then I'm paying as the taxpayer, right? And again, because I'm preparing this for your market is people who are preparing it for a CPA, right? So so I prepare this stuff, I get it already, I send it to my CPA. I pay $192 or whatever it is. That's $300 for the tax for that entire process. What is the CPA getting? What are they earning off of that $192 to $300? What is the value prop for the CPA firm? What is it?
Okay, so again, I think I've kind of confused the situation because the consumer product just works very differently.
Okay.
In the B2B side, there's none of this. We're just giving the CPA the software. They'll pay us per return for the software, somewhere between $30 to $50, $60, depending on the volume and stuff like that. And then it's all them. It's their client. So there's no CPAs or anything. It's just software only.
Got it. So if it's me, just taxpayer, I can put all this stuff in there, and I can pay $192 to $300 for my tax return to be.
No.
Go.
For the CPA firm, the CPA goes to the client and says, "Send me the information any which way you want, like you normally did, right?" And behind the scenes, they would license FlyFin's Auto Tax AI, and that'll do the document ingestion, create the whole return for the CPA. They will file it. It's up to them what they charge, $2,000, $3,000, $1,500, whatever, right?
Okay.
They'll just give us maybe $40, $50, whatever for that return.
Okay. Yeah, and again, it's a volume game, right? So so you're not out there to rake in all these chips. You're basically saying, hey, the more people I can help, I add value by reducing the amount of time that they're going out and chasing down these pieces of paper. Because we all know it's like, this file is 80% complete. This file is 85% complete. I'm still waiting on this. And you got the manager breathing down your neck. You got the partner going, where is this tax return? It's like, but I'm waiting for this. Like, no, get on the phone, talk to them. You need to get this thing. So you're basically taking all that frustration out of this process so that a CPA, when they sit down, maybe, I'm assuming that your thing says, hey, you're 95% complete. Do you want to start? Or maybe they, something like that.
Exactly.
Okay, so that's the CPA side, but me as just a normal taxpayer,
Right.
is you're saying that you're moving away from the consumer side. If when you were talking about earlier that the 192 to 300, and again, I'm not holding anybody's feet to the fire for pricing. I'm just saying what we already talked about.
Yeah.
Let's say it's 200, 300 bucks for 200 for an easy return, 300 bucks for a more complex return. I pay that at the end of this collection when I say, hey, yes, I want this done now. I pick the one that I want. I press the button, and then this thing goes offshore. They assess it, and then do they come back if there are glaring errors? Do they come back and say, hey, there's a couple things that we need to iron out, right?
Yeah.
So you basically get this big CPA world, but you're not going to a specific CPA in like your local market or something like that. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
So you don't get to choose your CPA, but what you get is the CPA. There's a CPA center in that as a messaging center, right?
Yes.
And you can talk to your CPA any time of the year. So and we encourage people, if you have any question, ask your CPA, right? Could be January, could be November, could be any time. Like say, hey, dude, I bought this coffee cup and I'm a social media influencer. Can I deduct that? Or I bought this Redcon One T-shirt like you, right? Can I deduct that?
America's favorite supplements.
Yeah. And we get that. We have a lot of social media influencers who are clients, right? And they want to do everyone. People want to save on taxes, but I've found that over 95%, no one wants to really mess with the IRS, right?
Yeah.
So they just want to know, like, hey, is this possible? I heard this is, now we have, Gemini and ChatGPT. You can ask it, and it actually gives a really good result, right?
Okay, so I have a question and this is a very real question. From a customer service standpoint, right? So I remember when Delta Airlines started moving their customer service stuff offshore. And all of a sudden, I would call somebody, and then just because of our language barriers, what have you, just different dialects, what have you, I just wouldn't be able to understand the person on the other side of the phone. And I'm not in the same room, I can't read their mouth. And so it's like, okay, I can't see what the contextual clues are. So it's like, I'm getting, I'll say frustrated, but it's like, this isn't working. And so when I was in Delta, I would have to say, can I speak to an American? Because, and it had nothing to do with whether the person was Indian or other, it's just, I just
Correct, it's a language issue, correct, yeah.
So when someone makes that phone call to CPA Central, we'll call it, is that also something that you guys have taken into account? Because the communication, I hate to call it barriers, but there's certain things we just need to overcome, especially if you're on the phone with each other.
Yeah. So I would say the answer is yes. That's a really important customer quality of service issue you need to address. And the way we've done it is a lot of it, I would say over 95% of it is over text and in the written form. And then for the people who do want to speak to CPAs, we have very well-trained people who speak very clearly. So so we don't see language as an issue, and we don't have such a large call center where we need so many people, so it's just a few people who are kind of good communicators are able to, because it's not just language, it's also, are you good? It's accent, it's, kind of pronunciation, and are you a good communicator or not, So we solved that problem well. And
that's very refreshing to hear, because a lot of times when people hear things being pushed offshore, the first thing that comes to my mind is communication.
Yeah.
And so
mine too.
Nothing to do with smarts.
Yeah.
There's intelligent people all over the planet. It's just a matter of if taxes are one of those things where people just get really riled up on these things. It's like, I just want an answer. I just want to hear this. And it's like, if communication, if a dialect is the barrier for that communication, you're like, dude, what's going on here? It's like, you get exasperated.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you guys have really addressed that piece, which is actually a good foresight on your part, because it takes a lot of the barriers against wanting to use your system away, because now it's just like, look, whether it's done by the local person or someone in a different place, the fact that you never see your CPA's face anyway, that doesn't matter as long as your taxes come back right. All right, it's fine. You never know. You never know the IRS person that's looking at this
Yeah.
anyway. So
And,
no,
and you know,
that's good.
the interesting thing is, even for that consumer service, we track this so closely that people give reviews in the app once they're
Okay.
done with the tax returns, right? And we watch that like hawks, right?
Okay.
And we've stayed in that 4.8 to 4.9 out of 5
Wow.
from the get-go, right? If there's one pissed off customer, I will make it my central mission on that day to make life hell for everybody, right? As to why did this happen?
Let's figure
Because
this out.
that could have been me, and if I was a pissed off customer, I know how pissed off I get.
Sure.
And you know, there's no reason for it. So there are still some people who are unhappy, very few, and mostly that comes from, hey, why is it taking so long? Because I sent you my stuff and the deadline's tomorrow.
Of course.
Right? Or why do I owe the IRS $5,000? Why didn't you guys tell me before? But you only put in the application yesterday. So, you know, of course, in anything human related, you'll have to deal with human emotions. But it ain't quality of the prep or
Sure.
communication or any of those things.
So FlyFin right now, 6 years under your belt, you've got probably pretty darn good software. It seems like it's being once people start using it, it's very what's the word I'm looking for? User friendly. So where you are right now in the growth of the company, what do you need from the CPA world? What is it? Are you looking at going after more practitioners, more firms, bigger entities? Like tell me how I could help you, or other people like myself could help introduce your technology so that we could help you be successful.
So, like I mentioned, you know, we're entirely focused on CPA firms and automating their whole tax workflow. And I think from a product perspective, we have the product pretty well underhand and a really
Awesome.
good roadmap. But from a reaching CPA firms, I think that's, you know, this part of the business is really brand new. It was really this tax season where we got a lot of, you know, people outside us kind of trying. You know, the year before that, we had a handful of firms. Now we've got, you know, like hundreds of firms kind of using the software with very good results. And we've had to release functionality in batches. So the product just works great. I mean, it's not just 1040s. We've automated the 1065s, which is the partnership return, and the 1120S, which is the S corp return. And this year we're putting out everything, complete 1120s, which is C corp returns, 1041s, which are kind of estate, trusts basically, and also 990s, which are nonprofits, right? So so all on the income side, tax side, we'll have all the everything kind of covered with a lot of automation, and the software also turns out there's many different tax filing softwares. There's something called CCH. Multiplures. There's UltraTax. There's 6 kind of main platforms, Drake and Lacert and all these things, and we support them all. So the main thing we're doing now is just spreading the word and getting people to try it, and I think that's my number one business problem that I'm focused on.
Let's say a firm calls into the Georgia side of CPAs and says, "Hey, we've got a small tax shop. Would love to get more throughput through this thing, but don't really have the budget to hire, two more CPAs to come in." Is your product, your software, would that be able to help them increase that throughput?
Yeah, so I'm going to give you 2 really good examples.
Okay.
It just because the way we started, because we had this consumer application.
Okay.
we had an in-house CPA firm, right? Just to do taxes.
Sure.
So they've been using the software, and of course we're metrics people. We're constantly measuring metrics. From 2021, when the first time we filed returns, to this past season, our throughput has gone up 4.9x.
Wow.
Meaning, if a preparer could do 100 returns a year, now they can do 500 returns
That's
a year.
insane.
Right. So that is one data point. That is, I would say, the most extreme data point, because this is in our control, right? So it's not just software. You have to kind of rejig the workflow in your firm.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah.
And then I'll give you more like the other end of the spectrum, what we saw from firms like this tax season who started using it. The throughput there has been more in the 2x realm, right? Because I would say between 1.7 to 2, I mean, somewhere there is kind of the average. We're still computing the number. Partly because there's behavioral change. So they did a bunch of returns using our software. Then they've got some people who kind of forgot about it and went back to, because it was, hey man, the deadline's looming. So there's a little bit of that. I mean, none of us can, even if there's AI out there, none of us can completely change our behaviors overnight, right? Okay. So the capabilities are there, but not everyone's moves at that speed. But even a 2x has been amazing. I'll give you an example of a firm I was just talking to kind of pre-tax season, and I had a chance to speak to them yesterday. And the owner of the firm was telling me, asked him, like, when we spoke the first time, because I met him at a conference and we had a in-person dialogue, so I remember him really well as opposed to just a Zoom call. And he was like a 5-person firm, and I think 4 tax preparers and 1 admin, and they were doing about 1,000 odd returns. And what he told me when I met him is like, I'm walking away from at least $500,000 of business every year, maybe up to $1 million, right? He wasn't sure, because he was getting more inbound queries and he had a team and he couldn't take all the work because he's looking for new people, and the CPA industry is desperately out of people. So he's like, I couldn't hire more people. This year, because he used FlyFin's auto tax, he was able to keep his people, do about, he said, about 1,500 returns. So in his case, it was only like a 50% kind of jump in terms of return. Mm-hmm. But they had bandwidth. And he said, I spent so much time with my clients, right? And I encourage everyone, because we had time, we were just like, preparing returns so much faster that we had time not only grow our business, keep our people, and also make their customers to spend more time with them. And that spending more time leads to more customer satisfaction.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, certainly, once you build those relationships, the word of mouth is that your CPA cares for you, and that you're not just, and what this is also doing, which I love, is it's, we talk about all the time about the CPA and the kind of the building blocks of a CPA, and what are they known for? They're known for putting their head down and just grinding out work. Yeah. We all know that there's a lot more to the individual behind the CPA license, that they drive Harleys, they have tattoos, they enjoy jet skiing, they do all these different things that make them people. But a lot of times when you say CPA, it's like people just think about, oh gosh, they work really hard. It sounds like right here what you're doing is you're actually enabling CPAs to really take a step back and really enjoy a little bit more about what the business is doing, as opposed to just getting down in the weeds at all times. And like I live down in the weeds. Now I can actually pull myself out and actually see the process happening, which makes you a little bit less stressed. I mean, you still have to get through that throughput, what have you, and you still have to be right. You still have to do all those things, which is great. But what you're doing is you're taking all of the tediousness out of the preparation piece, and you're getting down to what these people are really good at, which is using their brains to pull all this information and say that's correct, that's not correct, or we just need more information here, allowing them to use their expertise in in understanding the business problems rather than just ripping through all the tedious stuff of adding, punching in numbers here and punching in numbers there.
Exactly.
I think it's great.
Yeah. And even things like what may seem small, maybe not a hard problem, but we've got agentic technology now on the communication side saying, hey, Tim, this is the third time I'm asking you, don't want to bother you, but that 1099 from Uber hasn't come in. I can't finish your return, right? And it's fully automated. The CPA does not need to do that himself. The machine is doing it for him.
That's the biggest problem that I believe CPAs have is just tracking down all the information, because the last thing you want to do is put your signature on something when you know it's incomplete. But at some point, it's like, look, you're either gonna file this or you're gonna not file it. It's like, hey, listen, I'm gonna file this, but the flags are going up, yellow flags going up, So I think it's fascinating how you've been able to solve two very large problems in the industry, consumer side and CPA side, and now it's starting to show on both sides that your software is really, it's almost becoming ubiquitous to the entire process.
Correct. And we're automating all those things. Like, these are human behavioral things, right? Now I can see that you're a great communicator, right? You're doing these podcasts and stuff like that. So you would have no problem saying, hey, if I were your client, saying, hey, JD, buddy, I'm dropping you another text, phone, But a lot of CPAs aren't like that, right? And they're like, hey, my client didn't, I asked him, I sent him an organizer, he didn't send it, and not my problem, But the problem still exists. Your client will be unhappy, right? That return needs to get prepared, the document needs to come. So things that are mundane, repetitive, machines actually do better than human beings, right? But to give your client advice about, hey, should you restructure yourself and set up an S corp and maybe, create tax, and you can get that information, but a machine can't convince anyone to really understand somebody really well and do that, right?
I think what this also does, as you've been talking, the thing that keeps coming to mind is everybody's talking about how AI is going to remove jobs, right? I'm looking at this saying, well, AI is actually going to, in this case, increase jobs because you have this this amount of throughput of 4.9% increase. You can actually,
4.9x, yeah.
Now it's like, well, no, I need to hire a couple more people because now this throughput's coming through. I need more people to actually put eyes on and make sure at the back end of this is we're moving. So it's almost like it helps from a fractional CPA perspective, right? So it's if you just wanted to work maybe 20 hours at a firm, 20 hours somewhere else, now you can actually come and do that because you have this queue of tax returns that are you're not having to chase down anything. You're using the expertise that you have for the purpose of why you got the expertise and applying it to the actual product itself, as opposed to, again, trying to play, herd all the cats and get all that, which is the most frustrating part, I think, in any tax season. So it sounds like, in this case, AI is actually helping start new jobs or open up opportunities for new jobs, because people are like, well, gosh, if the throughput's really jumping through the roof, I need more people to help me kind of figure this piece out.
Exactly. And it's a very, very good point. There's two comments there. If you look at the people who are driving AI products, right, whether it's me or someone a lot more famous like Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos, if you look at them, if you hear them, they're saying that there will be no more work. Now, they're, conjecturing out decades out, right? But what they're trying to say is, it's just going to make your job easier. Your role remains the same. You still have, instead of 300, maybe 200 clients, now you have 1,000 clients that you can handle, right? But your job remains the same, tax preparation, right? However, the machine's helping you do a lot of work, so you just have a lot more free time, and you can do other things, right?
Yeah, the human side of the professional judgment and the professional skepticism and all these, like the gut intuition, like, I know that's the way the numbers go, but we need to shore this up. You need to have some support for these numbers because I don't know. It just feels kind of squishy, right? So it's not. So you're placing the human in the places where they need to be, as opposed to having them scramble around and then just be exhausted by the time they're done. It's like, okay, now I got to make some decisions on whether that even works, which is usually done by the people up the chain who basically. You have this staff that's grabbing all this information, and then you have the managers that are overseeing them and the partners that are overseeing them, and that matriculates up so that you don't miss that professional judgment piece.
Yes.
Right. Well, what you're saying is that with this AI and the tools that you've built, it's like the staff level. The staff can now concentrate on less of the go grab, get this this Tupperware tub and okay, start sifting through it. It's less of that. It's more of like, hey, you're here to learn what you're actually supposed to be doing, what your degree says you're supposed to be doing, as opposed to doing all the other tedious stuff that before this it was. Half your job was running around and grabbing things and running across town and grabbing that bucket, grabbing that cardboard box, grabbing that shoe box, right? I think this is fascinating. It's definitely a boon for the industry because again, everybody's talking about, well, AI is going to come in, it's going to eradicate the CPA jobs. Like, no. What this is doing is actually allowing us to just define or refine where we're spending our time. It doesn't take the human out of the process. It just puts them in the right point of the process. Is
Correct.
that fair to say?
And makes them work on the most interesting problems, not the mundane data
Absolutely.
entry, data check, like the kind of stuff that a machine can do better. Why, there's no reason for humans and machines to compete at that lowest level of work, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that's fascinating. So, well, I'll tell you what. I think this is great. How Jaideep, how does somebody find your software? Both sides, consumer side and CPA firm side.
Yeah.
How do they find you?
Yeah, CPA firms can simply search for FlyFin, and then it asks you, are you a tax preparer, or are you here to come file taxes, and it takes you to the right place. Or our product's called Auto Tax. You can just type in FlyFin Auto Tax, and we allow people to come in, sign up, and even try one return for free, so they can see how the system works. And that's it.
And usually after that, people feel really good about it. They just continue on.
Yeah, they continue on. There's, depending on for CPA firms, depending on their setup, most likely they'll need to get on a call with our team, because everyone's got different IT setups and rules and stuff. So there's some configuration. It may take 15, 20 minutes to figure out. And then of course there would be based on volume pricing, some kind of, business discussion as well.
Okay.
But it's super easy to use. The software, our software is web-based. Because we've designed consumer software, even the CPA side has been designed from a consumer point of view. So it's really easy to use software.
I love that. Yeah. So it was designed with the consumer in mind, which benefits the CPA because it's already done. It's already, the consumer side is already planned out.
Yeah.
So I do know, and the little shift gears before we wrap this up. I did mention in the beginning that you and I, you and I had met at conferences. So you're obviously out there in the hoi polloi talking about this. If someone wanted to invite you to come and speak at their conference, seminar, or what have you, how do they reach out to you specifically?
Sure. The best is to actually just email me. It's jdeep@flyfin.org. And
I'm gonna spell that out. It's JAIDEEP.
Yes.
At FLYFIN.com.
.org. Sorry.
.org. Okay.
Like organization. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
And and I do speak at conferences and various events, and would be happy to help out, engage. Just kind of spread the word.
But will you bring a rap with you?
Like rap with me.
Will you do anything entertaining than just sit there and tell jokes?
I could tell jokes. I can't rap. I know my name says sing, but I can't sing.
Hey, JD, no, this has been a lot of fun. I think this is fascinating to me. I love AI discussions, but I love when people are taking AI and taking it to the next level and really just cooling the jets of everybody out there that says, oh my gosh, it's taking over. The robots are going to be our overlords. Blah 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 blah. This is a tool that again developed on the consumer side, brought into the CPA firm side, and it meets both needs. I think that I'm excited that you're out there putting out there. I'm excited that you're seeing some success. I hope that with this podcast, you can use this to help other people understand and like maybe as a lead magnet or what have you. But if there's anything that we at the GSCPA can do for you, then yeah, please reach out to us, and we can certainly make some introductions to other societies of CPAs and institutes of CPAs to get you out there and get this wonderful product moving.
Thanks so much, Tim. I will reach out to you. I think I will conclude in the following way, that, there may be some disruptions here and there with AI, but mostly it's really helping everyone in different industries just do their jobs better, make their jobs more interesting, and quicker and faster. And I feel like this kind of frees up humans and gives us more leisure time. Those of us who are go, that's our leisure time. So that's, no machine can solve that. But I also feel like, this onshoring effort, this is going to kind of help in that onshoring effort as well, where a lot of stuff that had been offshore before can now be this capacity. There'll be more capacity in the US for us, whether we're CPAs or engineers or whatever profession we're in, to kind of handle that workload. So yes, I'm looking forward to working with you, Georgia CPA Society, and others to spread the word.
Well, I appreciate it. And Jaideep, thank you so much for your time today. You're going to be extremely successful with this, but I hope that we continue to see each other on these speaking circuits, because every time I'm around you, we just have good laughs. So thank you very much. And if you wouldn't mind, if I could get like maybe just a double buy. That's what I'm
talking about. There you go.
Oh, all right. Thank you for being on Business Biceps and BS, and we'll catch you on the flip side.
All right. Thanks,
All right,
Tim.
see you
Take
later.
care. Bye.